Land of chivalry and heroism. Its capital, Jaipur, is the first planned city of India. In this city, Swamiji stayed for months to take lessons in Panini from the Pandit of the royal court. The fort at Amer, a landmark in medieval history. Chittor, forever associated with Rana Pratap's defense of the motherland, with the fatal beauty of Padmini and her fire ordeal, and the matchless devotion of Mirabai, the saint queen of India. Famed lake city of Udaipur, proud relic of resistance and martyrdom of the Rajputs and their sense of beauty and bravery. A splendid past indeed. But India today was more like a ruin. Today she lived in miserable huts and holes, in city slums. The glories of the past meant nothing to these people. They were at best memory's mockery, a consolation prize for cards and do nothing. Everywhere he saw the plight of the masses of India, despised by priests, oppressed by heartless landlords, exploited by generations of money lenders. Every year, the flood came. Everywhere, people were dying of poverty, of famine and flood. The nation had been reduced to rags, no hope anywhere, while only a few enjoyed the good things of life. Not a moment of his waking life when he did not think of his poor countryfolk and of what man had made of man. It was not merely lip sympathy. He lived with them and found spiritual treasures in their midst. He slept in stables where no gentleman ever set his foot. He lived on the pallets of beggars, sharing their life. The words of his master came back to him again and again. Religion is not for the empty bellies. And he himself later said, "What have we done for the masses? Teaching them metaphysics? It is mockery to offer religion to a starving man." With this picture of the oppressed masses burning in his heart, the Swami came across the rulers of the Indian states, the native princes. In the course of his travels, he met the Raja Ajit Singh of Khetri, the Maharaja Mangal Singh of Alwar, the Maharaja Chamarajendra Vadiyar of Mysore, and the Raja Bhaskar Setupati of Ramnad, and many others. He believed that if these people, placed in positions of advantage, took up the cause of India and her starving masses, the country's progress would be hastened. He always reminded the rulers of their duty towards the people. There was something about the youthful Swami, and they listened. They who were given more to command than to listen. In his conversation with the Maharaja of Mysore, he had said, "You are only the custodian of God's property. You should use it only for the benefit of God's children, that is, the people." The Maharaja of Mysore was inspired to introduce necessary reforms in his state. These encounters were not without their dramatic moments. Once in Alwar, the Maharaja Mangal Singh met him at the residence of his Diwan. The Maharaja was in a somewhat merry mood, and perhaps, to tease the Swami, he said, with a smile, "You see, Babaji Maharaj, my forefathers built many temples, but I do not have any faith in those idols of stone or metal." The eyes of all present were fixed on the Swami. What would he say? He asked a counter question, harmless enough to begin with. "Diwanji Sahib, whose picture is that on the wall, please?" The Diwan replied, "It is the likeness of the Maharaja, Swamiji." "Please bring down the picture, will you?" And the picture was brought down. "Now spit on that picture, Diwanji." "What is it, Diwanji? But a piece of paper? Why can't you spit upon it? I say, spit. Spit upon it. Any one of you may spit upon it." "What are you asking me, Swamiji? It is the likeness of our Maharaja. Don't you know that?" "But surely the Maharaja is not bodily present in the picture. It does not contain his flesh, blood and bone. It is, after all, an idol or an image. Yet you respect it as if it is your Maharaja himself. Isn't that so, Devanji?" "Yes. Yes, Swamiji. That is so." "See, Your Highness, though the picture is not you in one sense,
In another sense, it is you. They all look upon this picture with as much respect as they would upon your person. So, when men worship the image of God in stone or metal, they do not say or think, "O stone, I worship thee. O metal, be merciful." They worship the divinity inherent or represented in these forms.
The Maharaja admitted, "Swamiji, you have opened my eyes. Forgive me that I ever spoke to you like that. Forgive me." Such was the Swami's unconventional method of bringing a great truth home. But the Swami never stayed at one place for long. No parivrajika. He traveled through deserts, forests, and mountains, and vast fields. He learned a thing or two as he went along. This is Khetri House in Jaipur, where a little dancing girl a lesson in humility and understanding. In his honor, the Maharaja recited. The gathering, including the Maharaja, was waiting for the Swami. One of the courtiers had been sent to bring him. As the officer conveyed the invitation, the Swami said,
It is quite unbecoming for a sannyasi to attend the performance of a dancing girl. As the song ended, she looked up and bowed down before the presence which her song evoked. You have opened my eyes.
After a brief stay in Rajasthan, he resumed his journey. Now he proceeded towards the south by way of Gujarat and Maharashtra. He traveled day and night till he reached the Meenakshi temple of Madura, eloquent of the faith of the people and Dravidian architecture. And further beyond to famed Kanyakumari, the Virgin Goddess and her temple. There he prostrated himself before the goddess. After a time he came out to the sea beach, where the waves tossed and tumbled. But a greater tempest was going on in his mind. He looked at the rock, the last jutting point yonder into the sea, and swiftly swam across the waters and soon reached the rock that now bears his name, Vivekananda Rock. There the panorama of Indian life and history flashed through his mind, a record of glory and shame, of past splendor and present wretchedness. The whole of India passes before his eyes. India, right from the ideal kingdom of Ram, Sri Krishna at Kurukshetra, the penance of Buddha, Emperor Ashoka, the ancient University of Nalanda, Shankaracharya, Guru Nanak, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then the foreign invaders, the Huns, the Mongols, the Portuguese, the Battle of Plaza, and the English. A long, dark age of foreign domination. The vision of India was not without a meaning. There was work for him to do, not merely to contemplate the unchanging and the everlasting. The present called him urgently. It was not religion that had been the cause of the country's downfall. True religion was nowhere being followed. How to raise the nation, the once mighty nation, the nation that still dared to dream of God and Goded ways. He raised his eyes to the ocean. The image of his master floated back, giving him new hope and a sense of direction. He would appeal to the world on behalf of India. He would go to America. The East and the West, the new and old, must know each other and help each other. Another chapter was opened in his and the world's history. On May the 31st, 1893, the Swami sailed for America by way of the Pacific. But he had no fixed idea or program. It was a leap into the unknown. He had heard vaguely about a parliament of world religions to be opened someday somewhere in America. He sailed by way of Ceylon, Penang, Singapore, Hong Kong, Nagasaki, Kobe, and then traveled by land to Yokohama to board the ship again. Artistic and industrial Japan impressed him. Inspired by the example of this newly awakened Asian country, he wrote to his friends and disciples in Madras,
"Come out of your narrow holes and see how the nations are on the march. India wants the sacrifice of her young men, mind you, not brutes. Sympathy for the poor, bread for the hungry mouths, enlightenment people at large, and struggle unto death to make men of those who have been brought to the level of beasts by the tyranny of your forefathers."
He reached America, the land of hope and liberty, and the venue of the Parliament of Religions in Chicago. On inquiry, he came to know that the Parliament of Religions would not be meeting till September, and as he had no references or credentials from a recognized organization, he could not be enlisted as a delegate. But, completely alone and without any resources, he was finding it hard to cope with Chicago's high cost of living. He decided to go to Boston, which was cheaper. In Boston, he stayed as a guest of Miss Kate Sanborn, and it was there that he met Professor John Henry Wright of Harvard University. Professor Wright was so impressed that he insisted that Swami Vivekananda should represent Hinduism at the Parliament of Religions at Chicago. "I have no credentials," replied the Swami. Professor Wright was surprised at this, and he said, "To ask you, Swami, for your credentials is like asking the sun about its right to shine." On his own, Professor Wright gave him a letter of introduction to the president of the committee, the Parliament of Religions. In that letter he wrote, "He is more learned than all our learned professors put together." Vivekananda reached Chicago from Boston late in the evening. His troubles were not yet over. On the way, he had lost the address of the office of the committee for the Parliament of Religion, and he had no money. Unable to find any other way of passing the night in the railroad freight yard,